What's good, gentle people? It is your boy A Dazzle once again with WrestlXtra. We are on what number nine now. Making progress. Let's do this as always. Joined by my guy, the WrestleManiac himself, Mex. Tell me what is going on.
Bro, I'm good. I'm just recovering from literally being emotionally drained this past weekend after Roman Jey Uso. Like, God, if you didn't feel that right there in your heart, then I don't know. You need to check if you're alive, because that match was something else. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm sure we're gonna get into it today.
Listen, let's get straight into it, and let's kick off right there with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, Clash of Champions. Let's kick off our own little Clash review with the cousins, bro. Like, he's the chief,
the tribal chief.
He's the chief. You know what I mean? Yeah. So tell me how these emotions that you went through, bro. Tell me. How it went for you?
Like, obviously, so I've watched SmackDown on Friday, and you know that's when the battle lines were crossed. Roman delivered the first punch to Jey, and then on Saturday, I think, or even Sunday, earlier on in the day, I watched WWE The Chronicle documentary they put out on Jey Uso.
Okay.
Showing, you know, the whole family tree, basically the heritage. His wife was on it, the kids are on it, and funny enough, I guess kids being kids, it's like, oh, who's gonna win, me or Uncle Joe, as in Roman? The kids all said Roman. Oh, yeah. Like, so it's like not even your kids are backing you, but it was good because it's mad, but it played into the story. It plays into the story that you're the perennial underdog. This guy is the chief. He's the head of the family. He's sitting at the front of the table. You know, it was just absolutely brilliant. And then the match, you know, it just went from like squash match to Jey putting up a decent fight to Roman spearing him and then thinking, you know, the referee's looking at Roman like, all right, pin him. Roman's like, I'm not done yet. Mm-hmm. Even the way Roman was speaking to Paul Heyman during the match, speaking to the ref during the match, the trash talk between the two of them. I said that match, 9 out of 10 for me. One thing was missing, blood. Yeah. If Jey Uso was allowed to bleed maybe just a bit, that is it.
Yeah.
That has got to be probably the best main event I've seen in quite a while.
It was, as you said, man, the emotion was there. I mean, it's quite easy to do the emotion thing when it's families. It is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this just went to another level. We already know how close they are. Both in the ring, outside of the ring, whether it's the real life, whether it's their characters, we know how close they are, how they grew up together. Yeah, they're cousins, but you know they're like brothers, and they say that all the time.
Yeah,
and we know it. So to see that and the way it happened, and for us to see this development, and I like the fact that it's a development of this Roman Reigns heel, this bad guy. Once the hero to many, once the person that, you know, was pushed in our face in kind of like the, you know, the baby face, the good guy, the superhero Roman Reigns. But now we're seeing this cocky, arrogant, you know, call me the chief. I am the chief. And as you said, bro, even Jay's own kids know that he is the chief, and that ain't changing Roman. For no one.
I think
it was crazy.
One of the turns it took, which I don't think a lot of people saw coming, was when Jimmy came out. And obviously Jimmy's done his ACL, so he literally came hobbling down the entrance way, literally just trying to do anything to stop his brother getting this beating. Went to throw in the white towel. Jey said, no, don't do it. Roman said, all right then. Continued plummeting Jey until, you know, Jimmy threw in the towel. Roman still didn't stop. Jimmy had to go and put his own body over his twin brother to get him to stop. Like, this is storytelling 101. Like, I haven't seen anything as good as this in such a long time.
So, question. Because I kind of imagine this. Do you think, with Jimmy jumping in, throwing in the towel, jumping over his brother. You know, obviously, Jey was begging him, don't throw it in. I want to trying to carry on, and in his honor and all that kind of stuff. Do you see a possible, the brothers kind of falling out over this?
I would like to think not. I would like to think not.
Okay.
I think I really like that finish because I don't think anyone saw that coming, and it still keeps Jey as the underdog. He didn't actually lose. He just his dignity was kind of kept intact. Ideally for me, as always being a fan of factions, I would like to see these two and all of them, in fact, just bury the hatchet, mend this up, and I actually want to see the Usos join Roman as he's like second in command. Whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know. That's what I would personally like to see. But I think Jimmy and Jey, no, they can't fall out over this. No way. They shouldn't anyway.
I see. Ooh, it's not impossible for them to kind of join with him, kind of almost give in to he's the chief, and it's best that we stay around and stick around and support our cousin, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But then you've got the possibility of Jey going solo. I think that's a strong possibility. Jey going solo. I don't know what it will mean. I don't know where it would go from there. But Jey going solo and falling out with Jimmy. I don't know. Or we just see Roman just trash everything and everybody and just go on his rampage. And for me, that's the best thing that's gonna come out of it.
It would be interesting to see.
Roman going ham.
Yeah, I want to see from obviously Friday on SmackDown where they're going to go from here. I think what would be really interesting is if we have like a scene where, I don't know, Jay's at home, nursing his wounds with the family, or he's in a hospital, and you still see like Roman turn up, hey bro, are you all right? Sort of thing, like as if nothing happened. But, it's because I don't really think this whole thing with Roman is like cockiness. He's just... The story he's been telling the entire time is, I need to do this to keep our family on top. So it's more like, I'm coming to check on you because you're my family, but understand that for me to be on top, this had to happen. Yeah. And it will almost kind of make him more sinister, like in a way.
Yeah. It's that strong discipline in it. You know what I mean? It's that hard discipline of you've got to enjoy beating.
Yeah, it just had to happen.
I'm the man.
Yeah.
And what was crazy with the promo as well on Friday from SmackDown was that he was saying how, I feed your kids. I feed you, I feed your kids. He's providing, he's saying that if not for me, you know what I mean, you wouldn't be where you are, and at the same time as we can turn that into a cockiness or an arrogance. It's also a, listen man, I'm here for you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean, I'm still here for you. We're family. I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to make sure you're good.
It's literally like two sides of the same coin. Like it's so mad.
I'm feeling the emotion just talking about it now.
Honestly,
there's so many places it can go. I just it's gonna be very, very interesting to see where this goes. The other little development that we saw later on Twitter, that great place, is The Rock.
Yes.
So The Rock saw what happened and he's commented, "Oh, I've seen what's going on." Of course, straight away we're gonna see it happen. The fans gonna erupt. We're gonna see artwork here, artwork there,
the rumor
pictures
mill
here, pictures there, rumors going on. The dirt sheet's going crazy. Are we slowly building to? Is it actually gonna happen? Roman Reigns versus The Rock. Are we gonna get this with the family tie all in it?
If there is crowds, a full-on 80,000 allowed at WrestleMania next year, WrestleMania 37, and probably if it's still going to be hosted in Hollywood, because I think that has a massive pulling effect for The Rock to be there. For sure. They've got to do it. I'm sorry, the likes of the storylines we were pitching for the likes of Big E, it's got to be on pause if The Rock comes back. Because, I mean, if we're all completely honest, including Roman, we know who the head of that table is. And it's not Roman Reigns. When it, if we're talking complete honesty. So it's ultimately those two fighting for who the real head of this table is. I would expect Roman to win anyway, but
But the chief,
The
Rock versus Roman Reigns, like that's the real chief.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So we'll have to see what happens there. I don't know. I'm just excited.
Yeah.
What else did we see? Okay, what else did we see happen at Clash of Champions? So we also had the Street Profits defended their Raw Tag Team titles against Andrade and Angel Garza.
Yeah.
This feud has kind of been going on for a while now, since WrestleMania. Of course, we had Austin Theory, who was kind of in place of Andrade because he was injured.
Yeah.
How did this match go for you? Like, how did you see it?
I can't lie, I kind of tuned off when I was watching it. Part of me wanted Andrade and Garza to win just for something different. Obviously, Street Profits are longest reigning Raw Tag Team champions now, and that's no small feat. It's great to, something to have something like that on your CV. But for all of us that have watched through this period, we're gonna know like it has been a bit of an underwhelming run. They've almost at times forgotten the belts on Street Profits and not really done much with them. As for the match, obviously Garza got injured, and I remember what's his name, Dawkins, looking very annoyed at how that whole finish went down.
Yeah, because we had it was a bit of a suspicious finish, I guess.
Yeah.
It was clear that Andrade kicked out at 2, but there was still the 3 count, and obviously Profits retained. Garza getting injured kind of must have threw a spanner in the works to what the ending was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So they had to kind of think on their feet. Unfortunately, didn't completely work out for them in that respect.
But what I don't understand is why the referee doesn't just tell everybody in the ring, all right, guys, this guy's injured, we're going to the finish.
Yeah.
Because if that communication is done, then we don't have a dodgy-looking finish. Clearly looked like the referee knew that this was the finish, or he was probably told in his ear, this is the finish now.
Right.
But neither guy, Dawkins or Andrade knew. So, and it doesn't make for good watching, good viewing.
It's a difficult job for the ref. I think it probably makes it a little bit harder as well now that there's no crowd going on, there's no crowd noise going on. So maybe the communication in that respect probably is a little bit harder to communicate to the wrestlers. But yeah, unfortunately, that was it kind of tarnished the match. And also as well, just in general, you mentioned them being the Street Profits being the longest reigning tag team champions now for and it's unfortunate because of the COVID era, the uncertainty of it all and whatnot. We've not really been able to see the Profits go on that, I don't know, I guess that respected run of beating a number of teams. Their last, we spoke last week about their match against Cesaro and Nakamura being, it sent a bit of a message to say, we appreciate these guys, the Street Profits, and we want to do more things with them and stuff like that. But I guess in its entirety, that may be the only match really where you felt that, or apart from also them winning at WrestleMania and them winning at SummerSlam.
I think memory, they've faced obviously the Viking Raiders. They had the thing with them before they became friends, and it was a thing where they couldn't beat the Viking Raiders for the titles, which they've overcame. Obviously, the Andrade and Garza situation has been happening for some time now. And then, they had the champion versus champion match against Cesaro and Shinsuke. But if we're honest, it's pretty inconsequential because, no one, the tag titles weren't on the line or anything. So it was just a better team, which, like you said, is good that they won it. But they've had, maybe 2 feuds in the space of time they've held it. I don't know.
Yeah, no more. Yeah, no more than 3. I mean, it also ties into Clash of Champions kind of feeling repetitive in general, because we also saw Drew versus Randy Orton again, and we also saw a match that we've seen multiple times, Apollo versus Bobby Lashley. Whether they've been in singles matches, whether they've been on opposing matches, teams, we've seen it often. There was nothing amazing about the match. There was nothing bad about the match at all. They did what they needed to do. And another thing that we've spoken about quite often on this show is this feud with the Hurt Business and Apollo. I think now it has to end. It has to be over. Yeah.
Bro, I said the exact same thing when I done my Clash of Champions review yesterday on my channel, and then I watched Raw last night, and there it was again. Ricochet, Mustafa Ali, and Apollo Crews versus Hurt Business. Like I said to you before we hit record, I think they're kind of just spinning their wheels until this draft happens. I'm definitely expecting one of the 3 of Ricochet, Apollo Crews, or Mustafa Ali to move to SmackDown. They just have to. They just have to at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as you say, we've got the draft coming up. I think it's on the 2nd. The first one's on the 2nd of October. Is that right?
No, the week 9th? After. So I think the 9th and the 12th. SmackDown and 9th Raw.
And the 12th. Correct. So we've got that happening. And maybe they're just milling things along just for the time being until we get the draft. Don't want to commit too much to any new feuds or any new storylines too much, unless they know we're keeping certain people on the same brand.
Yeah.
So okay, maybe we have to enjoy it for another week, week and a half, however long it is, and we see a change. I think there definitely needs to be at least 3 guys, and I'm talking very specifically black wrestlers, that need to be going to SmackDown, because we can't have 12 man on Raw, all feeding the same thing and whatnot. And it's clear that they didn't know what else to do with them after a certain time.
Yeah.
What all these guys have done in that time and with that has been good. We can't deny them of that. It's not. I don't see it as their fault at all. But yeah, that change definitely needs to happen. We need to see a few of our guys move over to the blue brand and do something over there and start a few new storylines. The other big story from Clash of Champions was, of course, Sasha Banks beating down on Bayley. It was nice to see Sasha Banks getting her own back. What are we building to? Where do you see this one going?
So someone actually asked this on Twitter. Do you want to see Bayley versus Sasha in a Hell in a Cell match? Obviously at Hell in a Cell next month. And I answered saying, I want to see Bayley versus Sasha at WrestleMania in a Hell in a Cell match. Because it's the bigger occasion for what has been probably feud of the year. I mean, Roman and Jey are running them very close in the last month, but Sasha and Bayley has been the most consistent feud, this year.
Beautifully done.
Yeah, best story told so far. And I don't. Hell in a Cell is the pay-per-view where they're just going to give us 3 Hell in a Cell matches probably. So it's going to get lost in that. Sasha, in my opinion, still needs to be off TV for a bit longer. Because we need to really build up Bayley before Sasha is the one that comes and disrupts that title run. And WrestleMania, Hell in a Cell, like a proper blood feud match. Not necessarily blood, but
give me blood.
Yeah, I don't mind it, but it has to be on the big stage, a big match on the big stage. Sasha Banks is crazy. She has an air of Jeff Hardy in her. I would expect her to do something in regards to that cell if she got that kind of platform.
Right.
That's where I think it needs to be.
And I think you're absolutely correct in terms of the bigger occasion and it being a Hell in a Cell match. We've seen already. Sasha does amazingly well in those matches. Her match with Charlotte in the first ever women's Hell in a Cell. her match with Becky Lynch was in Hell in a Cell last year was probably the best, one of the best matches of the year as well. So we see that Sasha is great in that match, and we already know how good Bayley and Sasha work together as well when they face each other. So I think however it happens, if it's Hell in a Cell with those two, it's going to be great. But you're very correct in saying it could get lost in the mix, as an occasion at least, at Hell in a Cell itself, with there being at least, maybe at least 2 other matches that are also going to be Hell in a Cell matches at that pay-per-view in a few weeks' time. Now, let's move a little bit on to our next thing that we wanted to look at. But it's still connected with what happened with Bayley at Clash of Champions. Now, Bayley was set to face Nikki Cross at Clash of Champions, but Nikki Cross was a no-show. We know that the talk is that both her and either Nia Jax or Shayna Baszler were tested positive for COVID-19.
Yeah.
Now, we know that wrestling, definitely WWE and AEW, in terms of sports, were the only thing that were happening when the pandemic and all the lockdown and all this madness started. It was the only thing that was carrying on. It seemed to go unscathed. We hear of, WWE weren't really taking the necessary precautions at first. AEW were very much vocal about how protective they were. But now this week, it seems to be like pro wrestling week for COVID. Like, it's like COVID for, all right, time to get these wrestlers now.
Time to turn up in Florida and cause a problem.
yeah, exactly. Let's turn up in Florida now because we ain't been there in a while. So, let's go there. Because even on AEW, we saw that Lance Archer wasn't there for the same reason. Brian Cage didn't turn up. I believe it was for the same reason. They were supposed to have a match on Dynamite, but Eddie Kingston ended up feuding with the champion, Jon Moxley.
Yeah.
What is going on? Is this a case of wrestling being a little bit too complacent, maybe? I don't know. I said, AEW took precautions and stuff like that. But I believe also as well, there are a few faces that I haven't seen AEW for a little bit who were on TV a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Is it the same thing? Are we just not hearing about it all? Of course, we're hearing about backstage stuff, but we're not always hearing names, people being called out. Are we just getting, the repercussions of not taking precautions or not taking the break in the early days of COVID?
I think it's just a thing where, everyone, not even just wrestlers, yes, we are being careful. We acknowledge COVID is around, but we still have our lives to live.
Right.
These guys might, go to work where they're tested when they arrive in the arenas and stuff like that. But they still need to go to the supermarket to buy their groceries. Some of them are still going to gyms and stuff like that. So there's other places which they can obtain this virus from. A couple of weeks ago, I think maybe even last week, we were talking about the likes of Big Swole. Won her match at All Out, hasn't been on TV since. And then Cedric Alexander wasn't with the Hurt Business last night.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Clash of Champions or on Raw. MVP
correct.
Came out and said because he lost last week, he's at Hurt Business boot camp. Which I thought, okay, clever way to hide that he's probably isolating or something.
Right. Correct.
So yeah, they haven't said that he's got it or anything. I hope that's not the case. But yeah, they're doing the right thing in terms of the isolations and stuff like that. That's all you can do at this point. But I don't know, like life just kind of has to continue. You do have to acknowledge it. You have to be safe, but you can be as safe. Your parents used to wrap you in a big coat before you went out to school and stuff. It's not to say you're still gonna get cold, but you still got to do what you can to protect yourself. So
yeah, of course. I think that's all it is, to be honest as well. We as fans were lucky enough to still have something going on for us to watch, and they did whatever they needed to do to keep it going. AEW recently opened their doors to a small number of fans and stuff like that, and it's I think it has made a change as well in terms of the atmosphere there and the show itself. So that's been great. I mean, what WWE have done in terms of the Thunderdome and how that looks, and I think that's amazing. It's a great way to kind of adapt to the issue that we have with the whole COVID thing. Yeah. I guess this week has just been an unfortunate one. I think in terms as I don't know the details specifically, but I know that around the world, well, quite a bit of the world now, some things are easing up a little bit and stuff like that. Not where I am. We've now got a 10 o'clock curfew. Craziness. Same. But yeah, I guess it's just the crazy world we live in. As you say, they still have to live their life. They still have to do what they're doing in terms of everyday living, groceries and stuff like that. I guess it is just the unfortunate happenings there, to be honest. You know what I mean?
I think one thing that WWE need to be very careful about. They've spoken about, and it's rumored that obviously the Thunderdome was signed for 2 months, and the end of October is the end of their tenancy, so to speak, at the Amway Center. And apparently WWE have told their talent be prepared to get back on the road as of end of October. So if this thing is still around as prevalent as it is, can they afford to get back on the road? And, if they're getting back on the road, for sure, they are probably thinking that we can start filling some venues with a certain amount of fans. For me, that looks a bit dangerous. It looks a bit premature to start doing something like that. They're probably looking at AEW and thinking, well, they've got fans, so maybe we can start. But while your talent is still clearly, getting ill from this thing, maybe traveling is not the best idea, and then putting fans back in their place.
Right. This is very true. I mean, AEW have also as well advertised that they're going to be back on the road very soon. I can't remember exactly when, but that is very soon as well. I know that on their Twitter page they've advertised a few venues and stuff like that as well. So, everyone's kind of thinking, let's start going back on the road. And I think it's very unfortunate that this week has happened in the way it has, because it's kind of highlighted again the problems that we're still having to deal with. I think in terms of it being premature, I think it will always feel premature because it's going to be uncertain regardless. Even if they did it in 3-4 months or so, it would feel premature because we haven't gone back. It's going to feel premature regardless. Yeah. Does that then mean they still go ahead and do it? They have a lot of things to think about. To be honest, but I mean, I think the current state that they're in terms of where they're doing their thing, how they're doing it is fine. But as you said, tenancies are finishing. They have to make a decision, and me personally as well, I think it's just let's just start trying to get back to normal life as soon as possible. This thing's gonna be here. This is my personal view. I mean, it is what it is. We've got, as long as we take as much precaution as we can.
That's what it is, yeah.
It is what it is, to be honest. So, moving on to the next thing. Speaking of people being off TV, we spoke about this lady a few times, Naomi. This is news that I didn't know myself, so I'll let you kind of take this one and let us know what's happening with Naomi at the moment.
Cool. So, I just thought we should mention this because I guess we had a bit of a go at WWE a couple of weeks ago for making her or not featuring her in the number one contendership match for Bayley's championship at Clash of Champions. And it appears that there was probably a reason why. So she recently had a surgery and she kind of let this be known on her Instagram story. So I'm just reading an article. WWE superstar Naomi announced on her Instagram story that she underwent a successful 6-hour surgery to remove a fibroid that caused numerous health issues. She went on to say that in the midst of Hurricane Sally and COVID, I also underwent an unexpected 6-hour surgery to finally remove a massive fibroid that has caused me severe anemia, fatigue, horrible abdominal pains, and more problems. I don't even want to mention over the past year and a half. I'm recovering well. I'm relieved and already feeling so much better. So family and friends, don't worry.
Wow.
Big up Naomi. Hope she's recovering well and that. But yeah, I guess that kind of explains her absence in the last few weeks, where we were thinking that she was being somewhat overlooked.
Right. Apologies, WWE first. We went in on them. But to be fair, for a small moment in that discussion that we did have a few weeks back, I did say that there may be a possibility of there being some injury, or a reason why. I didn't actually think there was at all. But I just thought, we have to also then, think of that possibility. It's a shame that Naomi again has to kind of be sat on the sidelines for, I'm sure it's going to be a bit of a while, maybe a month or two or whatever it may be. And again, we have to wait until we see whether WWE pick up on Naomi again, or, and stuff like that. And I'm sure it must be very annoying to be Naomi right now. The last 2 years have been so up and down for her, both inside and outside of the ring, due to injuries, due to family issues, due to stuff that is almost kind of unavoidable, not her fault, almost out of her control. All this stuff that must eat, just must eat away at you. So, ratings for her to kind of keep going, and stuff like that. But we wish her a full recovery as soon as possible, because as we say all the time, and we're both big fans of Naomi, what she can do, what we expect her to be doing, and where she can go. It's a tough situation.
She's an absolute legend. She is probably one of a very few women that have now spent about 10 years in the business, in WWE. Right. Like literally from FCW, NXT, the Divas era, and probably one of few that have spent that amount of time and is still commands the response that she gets today, has a massive fan base, still pretty relevant whenever they put her on TV, although some of her booking might be questionable. We still care when she turns up, It's only her and maybe the likes of Tamina, I guess so as well, but she's, less featured than Naomi. Natalia as well. There's not really a lot of them that have still, lived through that Divas era when things are really bad until now, sort of thing. I still think she has a load left in the tank, and that's the part that's just making me want to, like, come on, just give her another chance, like another one. But I hope like I say, she recovers well and we get to see her soon.
As you said, she's endured all of that, and she's still got so much to give. I think she's still got so much to give, and I know she knows that. I believe the WWE do actually know that. Whether they can fit her in to their grand scheme of things is another thing altogether. And I think that's where the difficulty comes. How they use her, how they feel they need to use her, and stuff like that. So hopefully we get to see her very soon, and back on top, because I think, to be fair, in general, I think the women's division, whether it be Raw or SmackDown, needs Naomi. There's something missing right now. On both shows, we've seen the dominance of Bayley and Sasha doing their thing, and it's been great. Asuka's already also had, a great run in the last, this year as well, which has been brilliant. And then you've just had others kind of just in and out. I mean, Nikki Cross has had a decent year as well, and Alexa Bliss in and out, and we've got this thing with the Fiend kind of happening with her as well. But yeah, it's just that little collective of females that are doing their thing, and it's, there's definitely something missing. So hopefully we'll see Naomi come back very, very soon. Moving again to let's skip to a place that we don't usually go to. So we talk about AEW often. We talk about the WWE all the time. The other place that we don't talk about often, we kind of touched on them last week, is Impact.
Yeah.
So we've seen Impact, and it's not necessarily about what's been happening on their weekly show, but something that is coming up that might happen. They've got Bound for Glory coming up. I think that's like their main show of the year. It's between the Slammiversary and Bound for Glory. I can never really tell which one.
Bound for Glory is their WrestleMania.
I think Bound for Glory is the big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So with Bound for Glory, they also as well announced their Hall of Fame inductee. This year it's Ken Shamrock. What is interesting about Ken Shamrock being inducted is who he's asked to induct him into this Hall of Fame. None other than Dwayne Johnson himself, The Rock. So we're gonna see The Rock on Impact. I think they've made an announcement. I've seen an image of The Rock is going to be inducting Ken Shamrock virtually. So he's not going to be in the building. He's not going to be there in person, but he's going to at least be on a video inducting Ken Shamrock. Now, the connection between the two, for those that don't know, is Ken Shamrock was The Rock's probably his first big feud in WWE after he became The Rock, after his blue chipper Rocky Maivia, happy-go-lucky, smiling, curly hairstyle, nothing can, all of that stuff. Came back as the cocky, brash, and arrogant Rock that we know now and have seen, and they had a great feud. And I guess the biggest moment of that feud was when The Rock smacked Ken Shamrock with that chair. Still to this day is one of the baddest chair shots I've seen in all of wrestling. So we saw Ken Shamrock on Twitter mention that he's going to be inducted, and he asked The Rock to induct him, and The Rock was like, "I'm sure I can sort that out." As you just calmly, casually do. As you casually do. Yeah, I guess I'll do a thing for Impact if you want. You know what I mean? How do you see this for Impact? Do you see this kind of bringing a load of eyes to Impact for that weekend, or literally just that moment alone?
I think it's that moment alone. And that's not disrespect to Impact. Impact have done great stuff this year, even in terms of their recruitment. Like I say, I'm not going to pretend I'm the biggest Impact fan, because I'm not, but I just try to stay, within the news of what's going on there. I think they've got, I think they will refer to him as Dwayne Johnson rather than The Rock or The Rock Dwayne Johnson. I think it will be Dwayne Johnson, just to not cross the ties there. I know The Rock's lawyered up, so the contract's going to be very tight. And I also assume that his out, so that he doesn't kind of fall out with WWE, is the fact that this is happening virtually. If he was actually to turn up at TNA, I mean, The Rock's a big man, but this might be a problem. But I think the fact is virtually, it's just going to happen. People will tune in to see it, because obviously we all love The Rock. We all love taking any opportunity to see The Rock. But yeah, I think that's it really.
I think, to be fair, in terms of, the connection with WWE and any kind of legals or permission and stuff like that, I think WWE and Impact are in a decent place. We've seen quite often, I don't know if you've noticed this at all, but I've noticed it quite a few times. Whenever anything happens with a certain superstar who used to be on Impact or TNA back then, you see them being promoted in some way on Impact Plus, their on-demand service. So, for example, when there was the clash between Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, literally that same week, the same week that they were about to have their match, They posted the match between Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre back in the day, where Bobby Lashley beat Drew McIntyre for the TNA Championship.
I think that's so
that
cheesy.
got me excited, thinking that Bobby Lashley was going to beat Drew. So they did a good thing there in that respect. I think they've done a very similar thing this week as well with Jeff Hardy before the Intercontinental match as well. And of course, we know AJ Styles made his name at Impact as well. So we see that often as well. So I think in general, it's not going to cause like some legal issue and, people are going to fall out and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure there's been some kind of, some level of agreement in some way. There would have had to be. But I think you're correct in saying that more than likely he'll be referred to as Dwayne Johnson, because we now know Dwayne Johnson as the actor, as the big Hollywood star, as, the highest paid actor in the last 2-3 years in Hollywood and stuff like that. So, there's definitely ways around it. I'm sure they're going to have to mention, the connection between the two in their feud back in the day in WWE. But yeah,
they'll probably even call it WWF so that it doesn't cross the lines.
Very true. Very true. Possible. It's possible. I think it's definitely going to be a moment, and not necessarily a big thing for that weekend. It may bring, I'm sure in its own way, in an indirect way, it's going to bring more faces to the actual show itself, Bound for Glory itself. But I think it's a nice move for Impact. I think it's just a nice move for Impact. I think it's kind of almost a what's the word? Not necessarily a present, but it's like a gift for their hard work that they've done this year for me. I think Impact has done what it needs to do this year. As you said, you mentioned their recruitment. I've mentioned before what they do with their black stars, and just the general diversity. What they're trying to do with their women's division has been great. I think they've got a nice balance with that as well. So to see a star as massive as The Rock, who hasn't even been on WWE for God knows how long, for them to even get him even just to do a video message. I think it's a massive thing, and good luck to them with that one. I think it's going to be great for them as well. Just to check, have we missed out anything from what we were going to talk about today? I don't think we have.
No.
So let us get on to, time being short as well now, let us get on to the hardest part of our day. The star of the week. You know what, to be honest, I think I've got mine. I've an honourable mention. And an honourable mention. Let's go. I'll let you go first as always.
Cool. So this week, my start of the week is gonna be Bianca Belair.
Nice.
Again,
nice.
we haven't seen her in a in-ring capacity for some time now, but I mentioned it last week and it continued this week. We're getting the vignettes of her showing. Last week it was the strongest. This week she was the fastest. She actually beat Pineapple Pete in a race in the vignette. And Pineapple Pete just thought, forget this, I'm walking off. She then faced the next two remaining competitors, where she gave them a head start and she still won the race. And then the last remaining guy, she had hurdles and he was just to do a 100-meter sprint, and she beat him on the hurdles. So really interesting stuff. Like I said, Asuka needs challenges for this Raw Women's Championship.
Real talk,
she's been facing Zelina Vega, which has been a good outing for Zelina Vega to just show that
she did well at Clash, to be honest. She did well. She did well.
It was a really good match, and I was very happy that when it was all said and done, that match wasn't actually on the pre-show like it was supposed to be. They put it on the main card because that's the women's, world championship ultimately. Let's not play it down.
Right.
Like, you wouldn't see Drew McIntyre defending the WWE championship on a pre-show. So why is the women's title there? And Asuka has been in such a high-profile feud with Sasha and Bayley last couple of months. It's like now she's out of that, you're just gonna put her on a pre-show, like. The match was on there anyway, and that's where it deserves to be. But it is a bit early for Zelina Vega anyway. Obviously, I thought that Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax would probably drop the tag titles at Clash. Obviously, their match never even happened because they were unwell. Asuka needs challengers. Bianca Belair is someone that can be built up and, actually have like a credible credible run as a world champion, as a women's champion, and something that Bianca Belair has also kind of harped back to recently is she wants to be NXT champion. She said she's not done there. She never won the NXT championship.
Okay.
Obviously, we still have a draft that's coming up. I'm assuming NXT will be involved, even though they're not really announcing it so much.
Right.
I wouldn't mind Bianca Belair going back. You know, some may see it as a backwards move, but you know, they're trying to sell us NXT as a third brand.
Right.
Obviously, at the end of the day, we just want her to do well, be on TV and shine. And yeah, these vignettes are going a long way to building, and for some people, rebuilding interest in her. So Bianca Belair for me.
Okay, and I like that as well. As much as, you know, she's not necessarily been on TV in a sense. She has, and I haven't seen the matches myself, but she has been on Main Event the last two weeks, if not 2 out of the last 3 weeks. One was against Billie Kay, and I think the last match was against the Riot Squad. I can't remember which one of the two it was, but so she's still been in action. And of course, we're seeing these vignettes, as you mentioned a few weeks ago as well. They're very Mr. Perfect-like. So, you know, she can't do anything wrong. She's the best at everything. And obviously, we know her as the EST of WWE, meaning she's the fastest, the quickest, the strongest, all of that, which is great to see. So let's hope that these vignettes kind of build to something and not just, you know, they're not just there just to fill time. On Raw for now, because we've seen that happen many times. We've seen that happen many times with other people before. Vignettes get played for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then nothing happens with that star. So let's hope that that's not the case. And as you said, and as I've said earlier today as well, the women's division in general just needs something else. And whether that would have been Naomi or whether that be Bianca Belair, it just needs something. And I know I've only just mentioned 2 black women, but for some reason it just feels as if whatever a black female brings to the table is 100%. What the Raw division the Raw and SmackDown women's division needs. So that's going to be amazing to see. I like that selection. Good selection. My turn. I'm gonna flip the script just a little bit. You know what? The joke is I've got 3 people I want to mention. One person is a definite honourable mention, but these 2. All right, I'm just gonna go with it. So I'm gonna go to Impact again. I have to. Trey Miguel.
Yeah.
Bro, that guy. If you didn't see the match between Trey Miguel, Chris Bay, and TJP, it was an X Division #1 contenders match on Impact. Match was absolutely amazing. As always, Trey Miguel's had a great year, but it's kind of been one of those years where he almost reaches towards the top of the mountain, but then fails at the final hurdle. Yeah. So he's had, I think, at least 3 chances at the Impact World Championship, and of course, just last week, Tuesday, it was the X Division Championship. So he won that triple threat match, and then was in a match against the champion straight after, who kind of done him dirty, sneaked upon him, roll up. It was done quickly. Trey Miguel's left sitting in the ring like, what just happened?
What happened?
But what was crazy is that literally the next day, on an independent show, for those that don't know, Warrior Wrestling, that happened in Chicago and has been happening for the last 3 weeks. They've been putting on shows every single Saturday for the last 3 weeks. It's in a big football stadium. The crowds are like, you know, all the social distancing's going on, but the cards on these shows have been crazy. But what happened with Trey Miguel is he won their championship. So he defeated, it was Brian Cage and Brian Pillman Jr., who was the champion. He beat those 2 and won that championship. So he's gone from missing out on one, which is the bigger one that he wants to win, of course, to winning another championship, which is great to see. So it's great to see Trey Miguel with a singles championship as well. Before you cut in, and I'll go to my second guy that I wanted to choose, and also mention the honorable mention. They were both in the same match. Lee Johnson, and the honorable mention is Ben Carter. Bruv. Lee Johnson and Ben Carter match on AEW Dark was phenomenal, bro. Phenomenal match. Just crazy. I got excited thinking Lee Johnson was going to get his first win. Unfortunately, we still haven't seen that yet on AEW, but Lee Johnson showed himself and showed exactly what he can do. And for Ben Carter, that guy is crazy. And the reason why I mentioned him as an honorable mention is because as well he had a great match with Scorpio Sky as well last week. So, those three, Trey Miguel, Lee Johnson, Ben Carter, for me, were just the stars for me this week. There's no arguing it.
Yeah. So I never saw what Trey Miguel done on Impact. Obviously, you've just filled us in, but I watched the Warrior Wrestling match. Very surprised to see him come out on top, but well deserved. That was a very good match. Mm-hmm. Lee Johnson, Ben Carter, absolute banger of a match. I watched that match and I thought, so Lee Carter has this in his locker. Because obviously he's just been kind of portrayed as a jobber until now, more or less. Right.
Right.
Such a good match. And then Ben Carter. I watched this match, and then I was literally saying to myself, and then I went on Twitter. I said, this guy reminds me of early Seth Rollins. Someone replied to me on Twitter, Seth Rollins trained Ben Carter. I said, there it is then. I said, there it is. And I am super invested because this guy's British. I said,
of course.
Take all my money now. I'm fully behind him. He hasn't signed for AEW. They're going to hopefully sign him up. There might be some other people interested at this point, obviously after such a great showing last week. But Lee Johnson, never knew he had it in.
And you forget as well, Ben Carter also had a good match with Ricky Starks a few weeks back as well.
I don't think I didn't see that.
Yeah, so Ben Carter's been putting in a bit of work, a few times for AEW and on the independent scene is quite well known for what he can do. So it's great to see what he did on Dynamite and on Dark this week. And as you said, man, he's British. We're here for it. You know what I mean? We're here for it.
Literally, so much time for that performance that he put in, like he said, against Scorpio Sky as well. That match was really good.
Yeah.
It's just Lee Johnson that I think.
I already knew of how good Lee Johnson can be. I think my excitement wasn't at the surprise of what he did, but more so the excitement that he got to show it. It's been so long. We've seen him so many times. I think it's like 13, at least 14 matches now that he's had on AEW, and we've seen glimpses of it in a few matches. His match against Ray Phoenix was decent as well, and other times that he's been able to show a few things that he can do. But what he did with Ben Carter was phenomenal. For those that don't know as well, Lee Johnson. His early training, I'm not sure if he still trains with him now, but his early training was with AR Fox. Okay. For those who don't know who AR Fox is, he's quite legendary on the independent scene, and runs the WWA 4 training facility and school in Atlanta. And that school is known for training so many people that we know now, the likes of John Gresham, Moose, Apollo Crews. We see Sean Dean on AEW. Austin Theory is another one who's came through there as well. Leon Ruff, who is now on WWE, and there's so many others, so many others. I could go through so many of them. People that we've seen on WWE and AEW over the last few months. Especially during this COVID era as well. So yeah, to see Lee do his thing and get to show himself, I'm hoping so badly that it means something for him, and something more comes from it. Ben Carter as well. He's got a win on Dark. We know usually that leads to something. Yeah. So we'll wait and see what happens with that one. And I think that is more or less all we have time for. We have a few minutes left, but there's not so much more we can talk about. But, you know, as always, guys, don't forget to follow WrestleManiac UK on Instagram, on Twitter. Follow the YouTube channel. This is where you should be watching this show, which gets uploaded every single Wednesday on the WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to follow Black Wrestling Alliance. I'm sure you are already. If you're not, I don't know what you're listening to the show for. I'm joking. Black Wrestling Alliance. Also on Twitter, Black Wrestling A. I'm trying to do this Twitter thing, yeah. So just come along. Give me a reason to do it. You know what I mean? And of course, you are listening to WrestlXtra on Affinity Extra Radio. And we will be here again next week. Do not go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll bring you the best news on our pages, reactions. Mex does it better than I do with his reactions. They're great. I'll just give you news when it comes. And folks, this is us. We're done for today. Folks, we'll see you next time. Peace out.